Talking about Eden Network, which is a protocol that limits the amount of extraction that can be conducted on top of it when you are trading tokens. So this gets really technical really quickly. We're going to try to walk you through it. So Eden Network basically is an exchange that allows you to use their protocol to fight what's called miner extractable value. Miner extractable value is when a miner can kind of like sequence your orders and transactions on chain, and they can kind of extract value by moving transaction A in front of transaction B to create some sort of slippage or arbitrage opportunity. This hurts the cryptocurrency ecosystem itself and also hurts how cryptocurrency protocols themselves work. And it's something that Ethereum builders and other smart contract-based builders are trying to address. Eden Network is one of those networks that's trying to do it, and they're doing it through a native token called Eden and a bunch of other fancy tech on the backside. They recently raised $17.4 million in order to do this, led by Multicoin Capital. So it's a big bet on both smart contracts being the future of exchange, as well as there being a way to solve this miner extractable value issue, which has been known about since as early as 2015, 2016, but has yet to be addressed in any sort of conclusive manner. Zach, I don't know if you took a look at this story, but MEV has obviously been kind of a headline, at least for a year now. It kind of died off a little bit with NFT summer coming around, but at least through April, it was a really big story. So I want to get your take on Eden Network.
I knew you were going to pick on me, but Jen raised her hand. So Jen, you got it.
I just have a question. So either Will or Zach can answer it. So Will, you explained the issues around MEV on the show probably back in April. And now we have a solution here. And so when I was reading the article, the solution said there's a set of really easy to understand and follow and transparent rules that people have to abide by for this to work. What are those? Like, how does this work, and how do we know that people are going to follow them?
Yeah, for sure. So Eden Network and every single one of these MEV networks has their own little rules that you have to follow along with. Basically, what they're trying to do is create a marketplace for an agreed upon rule set for how miners and traders kind of interact with each other. So typically when you're pushing like an Ethereum transaction or a stablecoin transaction on chain, you're just throwing it out there into what's called the memory pool. Miners pick up that transaction, they broadcast around the network, and everyone kind of writes it down on their own little ledger, and boom, you have your transaction on chain. What these networks do is say, hey, send your transaction to our private pool. We're going to write it down, and we'll broadcast it to the network under our own little guide set. And that means that you have like a more private transaction, but you also have more protection against other people seeing your transaction. Because remember, in the first transaction, everyone can see it. Anyone can do whatever they want with it. In the second one, it's more private. There's less information available on chain, so less people can mess with your transaction. So what I like to kind of compare this to is the whole Reddit GameStop thing that happened in January. It's not exactly the same, but it's quite similar. So we saw that big hedge funds have the power to front run or back run your transaction because they're getting the payment flow of transactions from the brokers. They're able to say like, this transaction came here, this transaction came here, and then they're able to kind of move the prices around that information of trade settling. Same thing happens in blockchains, except it's just totally public information. These networks like Eden Network or Flashbots make it more private, and you subscribe to them and use their rule set in order to kind of create like a play box of transactions and make things both a little bit cheaper and a little bit more private. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's a very big and broad topic, and you can talk about it for a few hours. But Zach, I do want to keep picking on you. You know I'll come back for you. So what do you think about this whole...
Back to me.
I'm interested to your take from like a funding standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, what the big picture here is just like a level playing field for all traders, right? And I think MEV represents the failings of that in these networks, where sophisticated or otherwise so inclined traders are able to, as you said, just like act on information that benefits them ahead of other people who just want to use the network to send someone a CryptoKitty or something, So the fact that there's these tools that are out here looking to incentivize a level playing field, I think is great. I think it's something that it is hard to like grasp, and it's like hard to engage with for, I think, most readers. So the ability to sort of like be like, okay, here's a solution in which we're incentivizing a level playing field. I think it's super important. And for them to raise like a fairly large seed round, like 17.4 million is like not nothing for a seed round, indicates that people who are in this space and making money on large investments see this as a problem that needs fixing. And there's a bunch of different solutions out there, and some folks think this is the solution that may work and may win out. So that to me, again, just the sort of the level playing field that these networks should be, but sometimes aren't, is what these solutions are hoping to solve.
So, Naomi, I wanted to get your thoughts on the subject really quickly. I'm wondering specifically, have you looked into like Flashbots versus Eden Network before and kind of seen like the two different models, or not so much yet?
I haven't been exploring that, but what I love about all of this is there's not just competition in chains in crypto where we think, oh, well, we move to a different chain, we can see what's better, and this competitive environment kind of pushes everyone to be better. You have these public chains and you have all these different iterations on top of that that are also competing and providing solutions. So there's just so much optionality. It's such a stark contrast to what we see in these very bureaucratic, heavily regulated areas where no one's allowed to do anything because it's always just shut down. So I'm loving that we have all of these different solutions, people out there willing to fund all of this. I think it's really exciting. And so I hope that this helps Ethereum. They've kind of been plagued with a lot of different issues on a wide spectrum, but there are all kinds of people innovating on this. So very excited to see what comes as a result of this.